Good evening. How are you doing? Okay.
Florence Board of Education regular meeting, Thursday, June 10th, 2021. Will the clerk please conduct roll call?
Amy O'Brien,
Here.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Here.
Mary Collins.
Here.
Michael Babra.
Here.
Lynn Lockwood.
Here. I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Motion for consideration of executive session to discuss contract negotiations leading to the employment of a particular person and personnel matters. Have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. And we should not be more a little out of order. We'll go to 2.1, student recognition. Yeah.
Okay.
You ready for us?
Sure.
I have a quiet voice, so I'm just going to take my mask down a little bit. So, Trish Cole, I'm the Director of Special Education. We just wanted to take a few minutes to recognize some of our seniors who have worked so hard this year, and just thought it'd be important to recognize them. So I'm joined with Karen Henson, our English language learner teacher, two of our foreign language teachers, Megan Ramsden, French, and Mandy Black, who's Spanish. So we have a program called the Seal of Biliteracy. It was started in New York State in, I have to look at my notes, 2016. And I have to say, Chenango Forks got right on board. Actually, 2 years later in 2018, big thanks to Mandy, who's been there since the beginning. So we're part of a consortium with BOCES. There's 9 districts now who've gotten on board with it, that we kind of all work together to have students participate in this. So it starts around November. We usually have a big group who are interested, and then it kind of dwindles because it's a lot of work. So we're going to honor 4 students tonight who really deserve it because it's a lot of work, you know, especially with all they had to handle this year. And these 4 really stuck with it. And not everybody earns it. So we did have students who went for it who did not earn it because it's a very challenging process. So overall, students have to earn 6 points, which sounds easy, but each point is very challenging. So they have to earn 3 points in English to prove that they're a speaker, writer, reader in their own main language. And then they have to earn 3 points in a foreign language. So the points are really, you have to get a high grade in your English course for 11th and 12th grade. You have to get a high score on your English regions. So they're not easy to do. The 6th point is the hardest one that really separates some students who don't get the seal. That is a presentation, so it's done in April, but students prepare, I would say, December to April for this presentation, and it's worth a lot of points. We do it together with the consortium, and so students have to present about a cultural something to do with the culture of the language that they have learned and are considered biliterate in. So they present 2 speakers of that language who are native or who are college professors or who are other foreign language teachers. So it's a really high bar to pass. So that's a little bit about the program. So our first student, Karen's gonna present to them.
So I'd like to present to Alex Bodovich. 4 years ago, you stepped into Chenango Forks High School, and I'm so impressed with how you adapted to a school in the United States, coming from Ukraine and having the capability to speak many languages. The first year in Earth Science, you earned top average from Mrs. K's 9th grade class. An amazing accomplishment. You are truly an amazing student. Your dedication and hard work has made me believe you will do great things with your life. Thanks for letting me be a part of your journey here at CF. And with your seal of biliteracy, he presented in Russian about education, all the education over there in Russia. Great achievement, well deserved.
Each student is getting a certificate from New York State and also a medal that you can wear to graduate. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
And Megan's gonna present for our next student.
Lauren, I don't know. Okay. So Lauren is a native English speaker. I'll start with that. And from an early age, was pretty interested, or at least was introduced to languages and was interested from there on. And chose to do attempts for 2 fields of biliteracy, one in French and one in Spanish. So she has worked very, very hard. And I'm just I'm really proud of the work she's done. She did this wonderful presentation about French fashion in France and kind of some of the cultural nuances that occur based on, or how fashion is nuanced by culture and its changes. And so to speak about all of that in language she's not natively, pretty fantastic. So congratulations.
And Lauren also presented in Spanish. Her topic for Spanish was about gender roles in the American in comparison to the United States. Lauren's also our first student in my memory to go all the way through French 5 and Spanish 5. And then I have two other students who presented in Spanish. The next is Taylor. Taylor presented about the role of women in Mexico and has been learning remotely all year and was able to come in and do her practice for this year with me of the Zooms and things. And here you go. And the last person is Casimir, presented about immigration and to Costa Rica and the opinions and thoughts of the people in Costa Rica about immigrants who come to the country, and shared her experiences past travel with me to Costa Rica and that personal connection with her trip and experience. Thank you so much.
Right, now we'll start the SCI presentation.
Amy, can I make a special request? Is it okay if I look up there so I can point?
Yes,
Don't wanna
absolutely.
disrupt.
I have an absolute routine. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Terrible with listening.
Okay.
Listen. Everybody see okay? I'm gonna make an assumption. Actually, ask, are there some swimming families here tonight? Yes. All right, I want to start by saying, I'm glad you're here to hear this firsthand because it's really important to us. It sort of codifies some of the hard work that we've done to save this pool over the course of the last several months. And we have done in fact that. It's a pool project. And without the pool, really there is no project. And we have been, making sure that we keep that front and center in our minds the whole time. So let me just start off by saying, if anybody exhales partially, the pool is still front and center in the gem of this whole thing. Okay. And that's not changing one iota. So you got it? Okay. So we've been through quite a road on this project since it was voted and since you guys had the first phase of it implemented with some of the athletic work in the elementary school work, and then subsequent activities as we were drawing the pool. We ran into a little thing called the pandemic. It kind of threw a lot of things out of whack. You guys actually changed some of your design team or project team on your end, and we started to work together with Tamco and Bill Christensen and his group. That's been a wonderful experience so far. So we've been over that transition. I think they came on board right after the new year, and we tried to diligently work with them to just get our hands around what the implications of all of this change in the whole environment mean to any capital project that was caught midstream, sort of caught short, caught midstream, which is what this one was. The first estimates from the prior crew were that this pool was substantially over budget. It was a considerable amount that required a considerably deep investigation as to how to deal with it. They exited stage left. Tamco came on board and took another look at it. The numbers came back and they were they were largely different than the numbers before. But they also had the advantage of a current lens. So their current lens allowed them to say, all right, now this is the climate and sort of the way it's tracking. We can give you guys a really good up-to-date understanding of where you are and what the implications are to the project. And the number was a lot less, ironically. So we were sitting there saying, this is a very dynamic target that we're trying to hit here. And before we come in front of everybody else and waste everybody else's time, we better really know what the heck we're talking about. So we spent some time, did some homework, and figured out what we were talking about in terms of what it was and what it wasn't, and started to have a really great experience with TAMCO. We could sit across the table and kick around ideas. What if we do this? What if we do that? What if we change this? What if we tweak that? How do we keep the essential aspects of this project intact, right? So we did that, and I think it resulted in some proposed changes. So let me start by saying architectural drawings are what they are. I'm not going to make any assumptions that they're understandable by anybody or not understandable by anybody. But what I am going to say is this: the pool and the fit, finish, and feel of that pool and the pool environment and the function of it and the locker rooms and the support facilities, they're all still here. And they all are going to still walk and talk and act the way they did before, okay? There are some opportunities or decisions that you guys have that we can make moving forward, because we understand that things are going to change around here a little bit too, and we're going to have the opportunity to codify our forward direction soon enough here. So let me explain a little bit of what you're looking at. This is the way it used to be on the lower level, like way down into the ground level before. You had to go way down in that recessed area of the building. And the primary reason we had to go way down there was to accommodate all the square footage of the stuff that was in the original program. Not necessarily the pool stuff, but all of the stuff that was associated with the fitness center, right? The fitness center occupied a large amount of square footage in that back area. It also drove a lot of pathways so people could get out safely. I was here a couple of winters ago talking about the football team being able to capitalize on the hill that you guys have and the football team coming out from a tunnel. I don't know if you guys remember that. I sure do. So that was a lot of infrastructure and a lot of deep dive we had to do. So if you think about it, your existing buildings are sitting there and they're at a certain level. We had to go way below that just to get everything in there, get everything to stack up the way it needed to get to that clearance to the first floor. That also interfered with some of the electrical stuff, the infrastructure stuff that fed your building. Consider it the umbilical cord that fed your buildings, right? It was what we seem to think was the most appropriate approach back then. And, there was nothing saying that it wasn't the right approach. It satisfied your program. We measured the consequences, weighed them against the opportunities, and decided to move forward with that. But when faced with the possibility of having to somehow react to the current market conditions and recoil and still save the baby, so to speak, this became something that really was not feasible any longer. So if we said, okay, we're going to take the pool and we're just going to raise it up to the main level of the building, the locker rooms can feather in with the locker rooms we're planning on the main level of the building, and we can shift things around and make it all work without compromising, right? Make the pool be what the pool was. But the fitness center we can't find that square footage anymore. We just can't find it. It doesn't exist. It's not in that area of the building. So part of this proposal is to say that the fitness center gets love where it sits right now, instead of being supplemented by a new fitness center here. Once that magic move sort of happens, everything else starts to fall into place. We reconstitute the pool at the main level. We reconstitute locker rooms at the main level. And which is diagrammatically what we're showing here. All the stuff that was there before, plus the pool locker rooms comes up. The pool is all still there. Now I know that there's a lot of question about the pool well itself and the contents of the pool well, the depth. what it's like to swim in it. We just finished a competitive swimming pool up in the Rochester area. I have a real deep appreciation for what anybody in the swimming community goes through when they dive into the water, right? Not that I do it, obviously, you could probably tell by looking that I'm not the one of the people that does that, but when you dive in the water, there's a dynamic that that pool gives you. We think that that's important. If you're gonna build something like this, and you're gonna take public dollars and dedicate it to this, it's important that we do it the way it needs to be done, because it's not like you can just tweak it later on and have it be what it needs to be. So we can build the essential well. We can build the depths you guys want so that the performance is what it needs to be. We can build it so that it can accommodate a bulkhead. Choices moving forward, the actual bulkhead itself could fit right in if you can afford to buy it, or you could buy it later. Those are choices that we can make. Those are things that we'll set you up so that you're set to do either or.
So are we still talking an 8-lane pool?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
And warm-up lanes?
Yes, if you want them. Yeah.
Is that the bulkhead?
Yes, the bulkhead separates.
No, the bulkhead will separate, yeah.
Okay.
Right, so we can set you up with the well you want. But what we look for,
Everyone here thought we were going to 6 lanes. For some reason,
No.
everyone interpreted these drawings.
no,
We're down to 6 lanes.
no, I don't have a getaway car to say 6 lanes. Okay, there's no way I have that. So what I'm telling you guys is this, we saved the pool the way it was. You guys have choices moving forward about how we can present to you opportunities.
Okay.
Right? You can make and what our job for you is to give you the information so you can make an informed choice. That's what we're gonna do. We'll give you information to make an informed choice. We can't do any less. We won't do any less than that, and we can't do any more than that, right? But so we can build you the essential stuff, and you can put into it choices, right? One of which, the only one of which truly is the bulkhead. And if you want the warm-up lanes, which we clearly hear that's fine. Give you the right depth, give you the warm-up lanes. The thing is, something's got to give, right? We reconfigure this in our head. And when I say reconfigure, I'm gonna set the scene. Adam, me, Bill, sitting at a table. What if we do this? What if we do that? What if we do this? Bill's like, maybe if we do this, we can save some money doing this. Not cheap, not make it cheap, not make it chintzy, but look for an opportunity to make it more efficient, dollar-wise. Okay?
Well, I can just say one thing. So for those, I don't know, my family are swimmers, all my girls. And they were Chenango Fork swimmers, not school, but club swimmers with Steph, and they were on Mike and Minion for years, especially when they were little. So the swimming part of it for me is extremely important. I wouldn't be able to go home to my daughters if you build 6-lane pool, I'm gonna be honest with you. Not to mention they've been in that pool for a long time. So the 8-lane thing, I don't believe is negotiation. It's also not, I'll just speak from a CM standpoint, is not a huge cost issue, the 8-lane issue. The bulkhead is a different conversation to have. Now, whether it moves and it doesn't move, and I know to the swimmers, you know what I'm talking about with short course meters versus a short course yard pool. Keeping in mind, if you swim in some places, the bulkhead, you can go underneath it. You no longer can do that anymore. So when we design a pool, we have to close that off. So the question you have is, do you put bars in there? Is it a solid surface? If there's bars in there and you use that as a warm up and a warm down during sectionals and you're competing, and for the swimmers, you know what I'm talking about, you do not want kids in that warm up and warm down lane because water is going to flow underneath. I don't want to get real technical with you, but these all started to become part of the conversation that we were pushing back on this. Let's make sure they know what they're getting, because when you travel across New York State, you see 2 styles of bulkhead. Nobody underneath, in other words, water flows, and you see solid bulkheads like up in Cortland. Neither one of those right now are real options anymore from code purposes. So we have to be very cautious that you don't put something in that you thought you were getting A and it's really B. So that was kind of what our role is. I don't mean to time in, John Paul. I just think it was important to say, so you have a swimming parent sitting at the pool kind of, fighting for you a little bit here. And in this case, the 8-lane thing though, I think is crazy. I just, a 6-lane pool becomes, I don't want to say less functional, but in the case of, it's an Olympic year, you're going to double your club size. That's what happens every 4 years for the coaches in here. So,
we do these projects a lot, right? And if somebody walks in and you have this ta-da moment and people are like, what did you do? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was 6. That's pointless. We get that. We totally get that. It's not like you guys don't work hard for tax dollars. I get that. I do too. So what we have done, I mean, this is like you come out of the kitchen and you put that food on the table and it looks like it's all resolved and it's done, right? There's a lot of stuff that happened in the kitchen here, and there's still a lot of stuff that has to happen in the kitchen. But the truth of the matter is, we've been through months of iterations, a lot of grinding this thing out, always with the priority to make sure that the essential aspects of this project remain as coveted as they were when you voted on it. All right, so please know that we're your advocates. We're not somebody who's going to try to come in and save our hide and then leave town. So at any rate, color blocks right now, there's a lot of thought that has gone behind these things, but we've reconstituted this so that it's whole again, and we need to develop it further. We need to sit with some folks and say, you know, A or B, this or that. We're going to do, like Bill's saying, we are really going to do this as our proposed thing. Does that work for you guys? The detail stuff, the granular stuff, that's the stuff that really needs to be worked out. But the seating capacity, all that stuff, we carried this all up. The other stuff that we did, you could, on the upper level is we had a mechanical room outside, inside before, up on top of the roof. It was an indoor space. We wrestled hard with our mechanical engineers and said, your units will go out on the roof and they'll feed the facility. It's not compromising the performance. It's not compromising the integrity of the unit. It's just a different type of unit. And it seemed like the right thing to do, and it wasn't space we had to build internally anymore. So we've done a couple of things like that. I should say this, we're proposing a couple of things like that. What we have in front of us now is by rights and by all measures, something that we think maintains the integrity of the design. We think adjusts to all the crazy market conditions that are out there right now and gets you back on track budget-wise. And if you guys are okay with it and can give the blessing, the universal blessing in the time that is in front of us now, we can proceed and go to the state. So let's just talk about the state side of this and the market side of this. Bill has said this many times. It's really not nice to be out there trying to build anything right now. We're out there trying to build a bunch of things right now. And anybody who is in contract is unfortunately a bit of a captive audience. Lock into a contract, anything comes up in a change order. The change order marketplace right now is absolutely egregious. It is out of control. And you guys, as arbiters of public money or stewards of public money, are sort of stuck in a way. You know, if something comes up, it's almost, and I hate to use this as an excuse because it isn't one, but there are a few silver linings in this cloud. One of which is that you're not building right now. And that one you could build, which is a season from now, we think, we're hoping, as I'm sure all of you are, that these things are gone, that the world calms down a little bit and things are a little bit back to normal. Another thing to consider, when they came on board and we were really regurgitating everything and trying to figure it out, and they were cost estimating and everything sort of popped out the other end of that process, we were staring April in the face, March, April in the face, right? There's no way we would recommend you go out bidding at that time frame. It's too late. Before that, yes. In the fall, sure, but not then.
Just to add to that quickly, when you were getting ready to go to the state, this came obvious to us in January. You have what's a form called, I don't want to get super technical here, and I apologize if I get too technical, but a form called an FPF, which is where the state ed says, okay, this project is budgeted at this much money, and this is what it's going to cost. And then here's what your maximum aid of the project is. So that FPF says $10.5 million for the high school, for the pool. And in order to get it done and get it aided, as you promised, taxpayers are not vote, you were going to need to take $3 million worth of aid out of the middle school and apply it to the high school. And you needed a waiver to do that. So you were sitting at state ed level, and these waivers don't come very often. And that was a real challenge for you. So that's the first time you heard that. I apologize, but basically that was what needed to happen to get you to construction, to get final approval. The good news is just this week, I guess, so June 7th, whatever that was, Your large project from 5 years ago fell off your 8 at the high school. So you now have an additional $6 million in construction costs that can go to this project. Now, it doesn't raise your budget, but it eliminates the biggest obstacle you have right now, which is state ed. And I'm not going to talk bad about state ed, but there's down to 2 project managers statewide right now. And review period of times are still, they're still saying 4 weeks for architectural. It's up to 18 weeks for engineering. You can imagine there's quite a bit of engineering in there. So the good part is we don't have the first obstacle, which is getting someone to bless aid moving from one building to another building. So I'm pretty comfortable with this timeline as we start to move forward. It helps you. Now, I'm trying to kind of create a silver lining here in construction right now. But the good part to that is that was a huge obstacle. There was some conversation agreements behind the scenes, but I'm going to be really honest with you. You're adding a little bit of square footage. That's always a tough thing to pull off with state ed because you need that for the lanes. And the second part is you were asking to use what they call BAU or building units from another school. They don't like either one of those things because they ask you what's the potential impact on this building if we give you that $3 million this year. Now, I think you would have been okay. You still have $6 million here, but to a future project, your wheels might be turning, and we have work to do in the middle school, and we might have tied our hands. So again, if you just have never heard that before, I apologize, but that was the first thing that jumped out to me from the finance side is that we really need to think this through as far as your timing. Not to mention, even if you had approval in January, even if you had that approval, it's still from a market time period right now is pretty tough. So that's, again, no excuse. I hate excuses. I don't ever make them, but I think that is a positive thing right now as we start to go back forward. Also creates a lot of leverage for me when I'm talking to state ed, and you can actually get someone on the phone to say, this is what they're trying to do. This is what the pool is. This is a function of it. Conversations that we have to have through this process. So,
Yeah, so I think if anything, we may have, air quotes, streamlined some of the process with SED if that makes any sense. So sometimes what happens is opportunities pop up as a result of consequences. Right? And that's exactly what's happened. There's opportunities popped up as a result of consequences. So in essence, those are, in summation, the design adjustments that we're proposing to at least start the next series of conversations. Still an 8-lane pool, still as deep as it was. It's still can have the warm-up lanes. It's still gonna have the bulkhead, frankly, if you want it to have the bulkhead. So it's got the seating, it's got the locker rooms, it's got the deck space, it's got the diving boards, it's got all it's the pool that was there before. We did a lot of things around it and under it mainly to adjust things. Depths are the same, so don't worry about that. Just you can ask questions of you guys for sure, but anything that you guys want me to stop at this point and talk about, I'm certainly willing to do that.
We're talking about the fitness center there. You said you can't find space for it. So is this like one of the things that might have to go away? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Is the fitness center?
Yep. Go away or get embellished where it is, or get moved to a different project.
The seating is going to be what we had, I think, what over 300, I think you
The
said.
seating capacity for
Yeah.
the pool, yeah, that just got moved up.
it was important to try to maintain that deck size as much as you could. It's just you're going to try to seat that many. So that's it.
Oh, like the package that was the pool. Still the package that was.
What are the bulkhead options that meet code? You mentioned that swimming under is not code and solid is not code.
Solid if it's going to move. Because basically.
So we
people
can have a
get pinched.
stationary
Mhm.
bulkhead
Yes.
that's solid,
Yes.
that would prevent the water
Right.
moving. Got it.
That's honestly, so Ryan, that's something that you're seeing more and more of. So some of the pools like Webster is part of the reason why pools turn, not also to get their long course versus their short course, but to avoid those movable bulkheads. If you've been to Ithaca, you can see there, I would love to have that option, where they're actual, it sinks, the pool itself sinks. That's how they create their bulkhead. Yeah, if you've never had that experience, head up there, watch that switch from a short course to a long course pool. The bottom of the pool actually goes down on hydraulics and it changes the depth. They can also speed up the pool or slow down the
For
pool.
anybody in the room that's like that, it's like,
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Actually, when I call state ed and say we're gonna drop the bottom of the pool on hydraulics, after they're done laughing, we've done a conversation.
Then I do
So
need to
if
get
you
away.
fix it though, to my understanding, it is fine. Yeah. One of the things to make sure of, and again, staying in my lane on the CM side, on the architectural side, is to make sure that we can share water, so you don't have two separate filtration systems. That's
Right.
another,
That's a big,
that's
So
a
how do
big
you
deal.
do that then?
it's all in the configuration.
It's in the configuration of the way the water cycled through the drain bottom, which gets moved out in the pool and then.
That's a big thing, because as soon as we separate wells, in essence, it's a
Right.
double system.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I understand. So we don't actually have bulkhead options, right? At least that's what I think I'm.
Well,
hearing.
if you can put in a bulkhead that has like the grates and it moves.
Okay,
I don't believe the swimming experience that you have in your head, at least in New York State,
right.
is what you think it is. What I'm getting at is that there's very few places that have that movable bulkhead with the proper grates underneath it. And so, and those are safety grates, because if someone
Of course.
obviously goes underneath there. So there's not many places that have that. So a lot of times when swimmers are comparing, they want the movable bulkhead, or coaches are, they're thinking of where they've been somewhere.
I was gonna say, what do our coaches think out here for bulkhead options?
We don't need it to move.
We don't need it to move.
It's one of those things, yeah, it'd be super fun to be able to create a short course meter pool for the novelty of it. It would never stand any use in a competitive environment. It would be something that, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? And frankly, it would be a lot cheaper and easier to throw the kids on a bus and go to another short course meters pool as opposed to have that functionality built in here.
Not to mention, if you do move the bulkhead, every single time you move it, you have to have it re-measured for competition. So if it's just there, you don't have to worry about it. You have to have someone come in.
From an operational, one more piece to it, which I'm clear, you have to have two sets of lane lines.
Yeah.
Because the pool just expanded,
And
because
that's-
you're gonna want your short course yard tight
Exactly.
competitively, you don't want to lose.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and that's perfect.
In the original proposal, I mean, there was an assumption of moving bulkheads, and that kind of threw a red flag up to me. I agree with it, it'd be great to have. I don't know if there's a full understanding of what you're getting, and that was, you're spending a lot of money. If you want to quantify something like that, about $750,000 to move something like that.
Other questions?
So basically, I just want to, in layman's terms, I guess, so to get it conveyed to the public and myself sometimes, because sometimes I'm not so smart. Basically, the pool's going to be what we originally set out for. 8 lanes, bulkhead, everything. The only thing that seems to be changing is what we're gonna do with the fitness center.
Yeah, and with that, for us, there's a bigger package. There's
Okay.
foundations, there's underpinning, there's excavation, there's utilities, there's
Right.
concrete, there's a whole bunch of stuff that nobody else really is gonna notice, but it ching, it adds up.
The going underneath the current building was really, as we asked around, as we estimated that, we were holding a very large number for that.
We were looking for that like silver bullet that really moved the needle, because when you're dealing with a project that is really one thing, it's hard to chip away at that one thing without destroying. So that to us really.
Give you a feeling, we went as far as like, how would a site contractor do that? Like, how would you do that? And they talked about scaffolding down to the depths. And basically what that looked like, and the numbers started to go up. So we went a little bit past just a rough estimator out, a third-party estimator. We went as far as having some people put together what it would look like. Also keeping in mind that you're occupied above it, and they're underneath it, jackhammering and moving dirt throughout the year. That was going to be an 8-month, that portion of your project was 8 months alone before it, right? So we were a little concerned about the bigger picture. Again, I don't know how much of that was explained either. Like, just happened over summer. There's a lot of dirt to move.
So what's happening to the hill? Outside the pool area?
Really nothing. It's as though it's as it was the last time we talked to you guys, except for the tunnel piece isn't gonna come out that side. The hill's gonna be just advanced forward to accommodate the pool, just like that January couple winters ago meeting that we talked about it.
Okay,
So,
so there is no tunnel.
no, there was no tunnel, right? Because there's no getting out of a lower.
Right,
level.
right. And but you're saying you're moving the hill forward, so you're
Yeah,
gonna have to
'cause the
build that
buil-
out.
Yeah, so the building before moved out, right, with the pool. So the hill moved out and we had to do a retaining wall
Right.
all the end of the hill. And then we were having a tunnel that came out. So that like the entire look and package that we presented to you guys with the tunnel and the hill moving out, that 2 Januaries ago or so, being what it was, now you step back, the tunnel is just the only thing that's not there.
Okay, so we're still having that seating
Yep,
up there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
yep. Okay. Fine, yes.
Really quick question. So what is, if this goes through, what kind of projected timeline do you have to start construction? How long would it take? I mean, obviously there's.
I'm gonna tell you, start, Bill can tell you like duration, like, we recommend your next construction season,
So that's
Right.
that's 1 year from now.
a year from now. For a lot of reasons, like A, we have to redraw an entire aspect of this. And B, the market, we recommend you let the market chill out a little bit, because it's crazy right now. And then just the logistics of the timing. Well, you can talk
So,
about the
so in the perfect world, they would draw really fast. Because that's a true CM, I'm told to say. They would draw, we would get through
Unless we
SED
vote that-
approval. Yeah, it should only take like a week, you should be good. We'll draw it, it'll come out, we'll push it through SED as fast, obviously we'll have to get in the queue. Answer questions, that's all in there, and when it comes out, I would hope for like the first of the year come out. We would start in the meantime laying some groundwork, there's 2 main pool builders in New York State. And there's one actually in Canada as well. So we would start reaching out to them to be in construction as soon as we possibly could. But that'll come down to the school itself, then, of course, what we can have access to and not have access to. And then we'll have to build a safety plan. So we would do the first part of this next summer. And then we would have to look at how that timeline looks as far as total pool construction, because pool constructions from nothing are about 8 to 9 months. So obviously that's 2 years. In this case, we'd be looking to see how we could accelerate that based on when it comes out, what the general contractor in this case would be looking to do. So it's hard for me to say it would be ready for the following school year, because a lot of that right now, I'd have to say to you right now, it would take 2 years because of structural steel, rebar, and all of that to get it right.
Well, even before the pandemic, we did an 8-lane pool with a separate dive, with a bulkhead separating the diving well of the pool. Pre-COVID, it took 2 summers.
Now, you were saying that when we were originally looking at digging deeper down to accommodate the fitness center, there was some, like someone just said, 8 months worth of digging there. If that's no longer part of this package, does that speed up the timeline?
It does. What we're hoping on, and in our office, the project manager that would be really could answer that the best. What we're hoping for is, because we're in a similar footprint, we don't have as much of that work to do, but a lot of it is going to come back to what the structural engineers that they consult with and the architect tells us we have to do as far as structurally. So it's hard to answer without seeing the final drawing, but it will certainly not be, we were looking at almost a 3rd year with the last design, literally, because 8 months. So when do you start that? Do you start, the ground's frozen, so you start that in March, and now you're underground, and now take the rain from last week, you can imagine what that would look like under there. So, and then to safely do that with you in school. So without that in the package, it does speed things up. How soon you can get access to it, which becomes an administrative function and a board function as far as when to start.
I just think it's safe to wrap your head around 2 summer construction.
That is the safest thing to say, yeah.
And not because we're being uber conservative, but because he's lived it before and I just lived it before too.
So
It's the
that
best recommendation.
means we're probably looking at the 24-25 school year.
A safe conservative. one,
Safe
24,
conservative.
25, yeah. That would be safe.
Yeah, we basically 2 summers and it trickled into the fall and opened up January 1, this last
There's
pool.
3 things in pools that you come across. It's the concrete, the shell of the pool can only be really sprayed certain times of the year. There's the, which you can, from the curing side of it, there's the rebar connection, the digging piece of it, when the ground's frozen. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. But I think the safe one is that 24, 25. If there's able to get access sooner and different things, you certainly can speed stuff up. I mean, there's ways to do that.
Are we allowed to make comments now, or, I mean,
Does the board have any other questions?
Yeah, well, I didn't know.
Let's keep it pertaining right now. Anything
Yeah, to
pertaining
this.
to them, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I fully appreciate all of the information. It was good to hear. I appreciate that there's a value being placed on the project and that's not going to change.
I worked for a state ed program. I know how difficult state ed can be and how long it takes you to be very persistent. I guess I just want to state as an opinion, like just, I'm disappointed that it wasn't, the value wasn't placed and this wasn't done first before the other projects, because when this was first voted on, it was a pool project. And had we started that first, we wouldn't be here right now. So now I have two swimmers. One's just graduating, he would participate in the pool. I have an 8th grader, so I'm hearing now that he won't be swimming in a new pool till what, 10th grade, 11th grade, if we're lucky. And I'm a football family too, so it's not like I'm kind of like taking sides, but I think at some point our district has to like start looking and placing more value on sports. And this has a lot of opportunity, not just for swim, but for the full community, for the full school. Pools bring a lot of value to a district. So I just hope that this stays, right? So everything we're asking for, there's no more compromises. We compromised on the timeline. And so I feel like whatever it takes to keep it what was voted on stays.
I actually have a question as well. You're saying they'll possibly be in the pool by the 24-25 season. When construction starts, will they start other places in the building or will they be out of the pool for the 22-23 season as well?
It's hard to answer that without seeing the full drawings. The goal would be that you would wrap up. Well, the safe way to look at this is that you have a fall and a winter season. Our approval would be coming in sometime in January and February. You would probably the following fall season, because we'd be well into construction. So it wouldn't be an issue of when we start. It'd be an issue that we're already in construction by the time the fall high school season comes around. So I don't think it would be an issue of like your.
So they would be out of the pool for the 22-23.
They would be out of the pool, regardless of how we do it, it'd be 1 year. Because we'd be coming off of summer construction and it's simply not an 8-week job. So we'd be out the 1 year. The goal would be to try to avoid the 2 years, the second year. See what I mean? So it would be when we start. So the sooner it starts, the more likely it is you don't lose the second season. So that would be the goal.
To clarify, you start in the summer, you miss that girls' fall season, the boys' winter season. Hopefully finish the next summer.
That would be the best case scenario, yes.
So you could
And
potentially be back in the pool for 23-24.
Correct. Now back that up one more time and say, well, you're approved and you're able to do something starting in March. You just gained a few months there and it's potentially that's what gives you the buffer to maybe not lose the second fall season. But a lot of that is we can do a lot of what ifs. When the 400-page set of drawings come out, we work with the board at that point in time and we can get it awarded and get it through. There's still a lot of moving pieces. This stage of it is really conceptual. There's 4 more stages before it gets real concrete. We don't really set a complete construction schedule until we're at that final set of drawings. So, I mean, to be fully transparent with you, it's hard. We do a lot of speculating.
Don't you kind of have to though, if there's only 3 contracts, if there's only 3 builds, like, don't you have to kind of set that now?
We set that, well, we know, well, in theory, yes. So what happens is they draw, right now, there'll be an SD set, then a DD set. We're estimating along the way, there'll be a final set. When we send to state ed is where everything comes to a stop. And we wait and see how long that takes. And then when that comes out, we build the final construction schedule. When we actually go to bid is when we would know 100% on what that target is, because the contractor's bidding would be committing to that time schedule.
And you can't go to bid until after you go to state ed.
Once state ed approval occurs, and that's, yep. And there's a board action in there too. I don't want to dismiss their role here, but there is an action there. There's some financing with Mark as well that we talked.
So this new fee that we're looking at today, that's for all these new redraws we have to do.
Yeah, we ended up in a position where we have to recreate a large aspect of our documents to get back to where we were.
Is
That
it-
story and that conversation is something that is deep and we can certainly have it.
Is this including in the price of that was budgeted or voted on, or is this something completely new that the school is responsible for? Like that, the 200K there for the redraw there, is that part of the project that was voted on, or is this?
We're carrying it. We're carrying it in the
It's-
project.
It's
Right,
still,
so it's
we're
not,
still in the
it's not a general fund expense, I think that's what you're asking. Is it
Right.
over and above the referendum? No.
And I would just like to say that there's never going to be a point in time in my career, there never has been, never will be, that I'm not gonna ask for, something that I didn't think we really worked hard to earn. So I'm willing to have all the conversations we need to have about what that is, why that is, and stand behind at least my position. So please know that there's not gonna be any point in time where I would ever shut down this conversation. So I'm not.
Why didn't we do the pool first? I need my brain to be jacked.
I need my brain to be jogged a little bit too. I know that the elementary school flooring and the moisture issues there were driving a very big push. And I think that the turf was also driving a very big push, but I don't think that, there may have been other priorities on your end that I'm not able to really remember, but I do remember that I was here at the board meeting
Middle school roof.
and the middle school roof. So there were some things that it seemed like were precipitous at that point. So we broke that piece of it off.
During the board meeting when we had the flood.
Yeah.
Kind of a win-win situation, I suppose.
I can't answer that, so Brian, but what I can say is that from a financial standpoint, we had about 2.5 to 4 million of this. Going into that pool project at that point in time, getting the approval would have locked you in at the $10 million worth of state aid. You would have been over about 7 million, would have needed the 4 million, you still would have had 3 million out of pocket at that point, that would not have been aided. And I don't know, I've looked at the financials you went to voters with, but I'm not really sure that that would have been accurate at that time. I mean, I'd have to dig into that, I could certainly do it, but I kind of drew our line at it. Whatever that decision was, it's paying off now. I mean, I realize people would like it sooner, but financially though, I believe you beat what you went to voters on as far as the impact significantly because of that additional 5 million. So, you're not changing the project, you're just changing the way it's aided.
I know we kind of talked that this is going to be up to a 2-year time frame, and like the pool is going to be impacted for 2 years. Are there going to be other areas of the buildings, other academic areas, other classrooms, locker rooms, other things that are going to be impacting the students, faculty, the school?
In short, the largest concentration of impact is right at that pool area. Anything that is your pool and all the way to that inside envelope of where that corridor comes across the backside of the building. But Adam, maybe you could speak to any other collateral consequences that I'm not really referring to here, but I don't know that there really are. Nothing like what you're really talking about. There's always going to be back in the building, tying in some infrastructure, back in the building, making sure that things are isolated. But there's not going to be like the whole building has got a bunch of stuff going on.
We're taking the 2 LGI classrooms, we're gutting them, reusing your existing lockers to make temporary lockers.
For temporary
that
locker
time frame. Once you are complete, you have your new locker rooms, we'll demo those LGI classrooms out and make them new again, if you will. So those 2 spaces, you're kind of gaining renovation on that.
That's your question?
I think so. I just wanted to see if,
It's not going to be a
during the
war
school
zone.
year, the kids are going to be
So,
impacted, or, not, I know we have like the STEAM Academy, like right over there, are they still going to be able to get there easily? Or
So
they-
another way to look at that is the process, rather than, I'm not ducking your question either, but the process of how you get to what's impacted, not impacted, is very much a decision made with your administration from the building level to the district level, and then at the board level, if they want to be part of that. So we look at that, as Adam just explained, that process, and we say, well, we need a hallway left here. What's the fire requirements for safety? What's that? We build all that into the original plan. And then in other words, everyone knows at that point in time, these 2 classrooms were impacted, this is not impacted, and we put that on different timelines. So that's a very transparent process that once we're way ahead of ourselves, as once a contractor is actually on board, that's what we hope them to.
Yeah, I mean, what Bill's really getting at is we're obligated. You guys have a part of the building you need to use. We're obligated to make sure that the configuration of our construction sequences itself so that you can still use that. Safe exit pathways, safe use of the building, all this stuff that needs to still happen. And the construction under actual commissioner's regulations needs to be isolated from the normal activity of the building. You know, there's gonna be some crossover, a contractor walking through and hooking up wires and doing stuff, having some little activities, but in large part, the regulations stipulate that there's a real important separation between the two.
So I hear you saying that like when you've redone this, that we're losing the fitness center and like that's all we're losing. But you're saying that we're losing it because of a space issue. But if you have that all budgeted in to give us a new fitness center, how is that working? Like if you've taken it out or where's that money that we've budgeted for the fitness center now?
So the market conditions made us have to react to soaring costs, right? By the time this thing was drawn, costs were really going crazy. So we needed to look at the design of the building and say, we need to modify this so that we can still build what we said we were going to build. And to modify this, the silver bullet move was to not do all of that stuff below. And in getting rid of that excavation, that deep excavation, all that concrete, all that configuration of space down there, we were able to reconstitute all of the pool spaces and locker room spaces and everything into the upper level of the building and into the next upper level of the building. But the biggest chunk and piece of stuff was the fitness center that now no longer had its home. So what we're proposing with this is not to get rid of the fitness center. It's to give it love where it is.
So it wasn't really a space issue, that was the money issue.
It was a space issue in that we couldn't fit it on the first floor plate anymore. Because if you remember, what she was talking about before was there's a hill out there and then there's your stadium field. We can't go any further out. Can't go any further up. We can't go any further to either side. And we just talked about the fact that we really shouldn't go that far down. So we were kind of,
This might help too. There was more excavation to create space for the fitness center than just the pool footprint. So if you picture a pool being dug out, there was also space being dug out for a fitness center at the same time.
So did the cost of the project actually go down then?
It's saved, basically it's saved and was able to be placed into the pool itself. So yes, it doesn't reduce the total cost of the project. It just goes elsewhere.
think about it this way, the cost of the market went up.
So we're getting less than what you're saying.
You're not getting a dedicated fitness center and you're paying the same. It's like the market drove costs up.
So had we have done this when we were supposed to do it, we would have got more for the same price.
Had you had a crystal ball, I'm sure you would have done things, I'm sure everything might be different, but frankly speaking, the way everything changed dynamically, I'm not going to fault us because I know what we did to keep things together. I'm not going to fault Bill or anybody else, and I'm not going to fault the district or you guys. There were some unforeseen consequences that hit the whole world, and everybody had to react to it. So you can look at it that way, but I would encourage you not to. I would encourage you to look at it and say, everybody got caught here, and we had to react. And this happens all the time on projects. There's so many things that are variables when these things come together, and you have to react to the variables. It's what we do for a living. This one took some serious dedicated work to react to the variable. But I think we successfully reacted to it, and now we hope that you guys are okay with that. That's really the way I think.
So could the fitness center be built in another location?
Yes. But
You
the question is, can we afford to do that in this project? If it's all brand new build, what can we afford to do with the fitness center? And that is a conversation, frankly, that we need to have moving forward as we look at how to really solidify the last little bits and pieces of this. It's impossible to say that right now. I would encourage us to say that when we sit down at the table and roll up our sleeves, if you guys are okay to have that conversation.
Yeah, because I can just say it's probably not going to be able to stay where it is.
And what I'd say, Mr. Hogan, is we start to have the conversation of possible locations. They start to draw. As we start to quantify the costs of what they're drawing, we can set a budget and see if that's even feasible to say, I don't want to pick locations and people think I'm saying it should go there, but some other location and the budget for that is 400,000. The budget, will it do it the way you want it, or is it a two-phase or a two-step process where you do some work and move it? like I said, it's staying where it is a problem. And if that's a problem programmatically, then the dollars that are being assigned to just kind of clean it up a little bit and leave it, and they go to a different location. And what will that get you on? Like, what's that return on that investment? What would that really cost? But I think there's a brainstorming that needs to occur with a group, a small group of people to say, here's 3 or 4 different places it could go.
And would that location have to stay in the high school, or is it potential that it could move anywhere in one of the campus buildings?
I mean, putting my
Or would
old
that have to be a
superintendent
different
hat
capital
on, what I
project?
typically say to that is we go back to administratively the way a process that they want to look at that and say, so here's 3 or 4 options. And, you know, I'm sure Mr. Hogan's involved. You'll have a transition of leadership coming, and whatever that process looks like, we need to start that to look at 2 or 3 options. Does it have to stay? It can be anywhere except new space. New space, I don't know how I'd get that through state ed. But anywhere else, it is. But what I'm always cautious, especially in public forums, is saying is that what becomes the sacrificial lamb? Who's giving up to get this? And there's always a disagreement. So the best way I usually recommend is a group of people somehow come to 3 or 4 options, and then a decision making of some kind, whether that's at the administrative level, the board level.
I think that's what we need to do moving forward. We need to figure out who that group is and how it actually communicates and interacts.
Well, I think that's why a lot of us are here, because I don't think the pool can be any more of a sacrificial lamb. Like, I understand the importance of a fitness center, like, every athlete uses it, however, not at the cost anymore to the pool.
Yeah.
And that's not even an option.
I'm not, yeah,
Unless-
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
advocating.
no,
to take
not at
anything
all.
away from
Yeah,
the
no,
pool.
I was listening to
Yeah.
the same cost just to make it good where it's at, seems like, but if you have to move it to a different location. would
It might cost a
more
little bit more, it might not. It depends on where that other space is. I don't know your buildings as well as if I sat. in
Would it be a
Wilshire.
different capital project though? Because like you said, we were originally taking $3 million from the middle school that's connected to the high school by a breezeway,
Mhm.
but it was a different budget type thing, so to speak. Would it be a new capital project to move it
finance
to a different
world,
building?
On the financial world of projects, there's a lot of ways to do things. One way is that it could be its own standalone project. There's another way where money that is available at the end of the project is used to
That's a
get it
very
started,
viable way.
and then you go back out and get additional money. There's a lot of different ways to solve that problem.
Right now, you guys are relegated to a project that you basically said is going to be in these buildings for this amount of money, and it's going to environmentally impact things like this general way. Right? Like, but what Bill said is important. I mean, sometimes what happens is these projects track through and it ended up being that there's some money left over. And now you got a clear look at it. You got a clear look at what's left over, and you can apply that to the current marketplace and figure out what you're going to do. And that's not uncommon at all to do that.
When I was looking at the blueprint earlier today, it's a little bit hard, just the resolution you zoom in, the font becomes difficult to read. But the pool there, one of my points of confusion was that the lanes are no longer marked, so it's good to hear that there are 8. The drawing that I think is up on the board right now said on one of the color coded keys on the side there, no bulkhead. So I'm just clarifying, or I guess I'm asking why it says no bulkhead.
You'll have
if
a
there's
pool
bulkhead.
well, you will have a pool well with the new scheme that you could either put a bulkhead into or choose not to do that because cost is prohibitive to actually put the physical bulkhead.
So instead, we have a wall essentially that separates, well, something that separates a 25-yard pool from a warm-up lane facility, right?
Absolutely, and that's the kind of nuance that we can work through design-wise, a bunch of different choices. Now we're getting down to some of like the finer points. We can hammer out some of these specific things. So,
So if you don't put a fixed bulkhead, the pool's too big.
Right,
The
it's
lanes
not
aren't big.
25 yards.
So, right, so the reason it says no bulkhead, everything that we were talking through early on in this process, really the 3-4 of us, our project team, is movable. So when it
So I
says,
guess the bulkhead is just the semantics.
it's the semantics of what that is.
Okay.
The only other thing with the only other concern I have is deck spacing, and that comes up because our pool is small, as we know,
Right.
and very, very old, but the deck spacing is atrocious. Is that gonna be?
I think, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, David, it's a totally different, this is a totally different animal in
Yeah.
terms of deck space.
All right, is it adequate amount, like if?
Oh, it's more than, I mean, put deck minimums of 10, we're not doing that, right? So, we've got a lot more space behind diving boards. You got, this doesn't show where this is underneath, the pool actually goes underneath that on that side. There's deck space on either side, there's deck space on the front and the back, so you've got ample deck space all around this thing. It's entirely different than what you have right now. We could sit down over a set of documents with dimensions and everything and talk about.
I don't remember what it was, Dave, but it didn't jump out. It looked pretty large.
It's definitely legit.
I don't remember, I don't want
I
to
just-
quote the
I
wrong
mean, the
footage.
coaches and
Yeah.
swimmers can attest to this.
Yeah.
Not only could we not host a meeting, we couldn't even, or, I'm sorry, we couldn't have parents at a meeting.
Yeah, your
We-
practice
we
was
couldn't
hard.
even host, we couldn't even host.
Yeah.
No, I mean, because we had too many swimmers and there's just no space.
No, there's no more glass wall to try to watch practice, and there's no more like walking along the edge. I don't remember the exact footage, so I don't want to quote it, but it was significantly different. And where that's coming from is the additional lanes and the building popping out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the depth, that's where the lane depth was.
I don't know if you remember early on, we had actually pulled a building out of the inside in that tucked in space and pull it out so that it could expand and get the proper deck space behind diving.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, we had to pull it out, and that gave us more deck space here because there was frankly space left over from pulling it out. And then the deck space on the
I'll
other
look
side.
at it though. I don't remember the number, but
Okay,
it didn't
just wanna
jump
make
out at
sure
me at the
it's
time.
legitimate.
But
As far as spectator space, where in all of that is the spectator space going? Is it elevated above the?
Yes, yes, it is. It's terraced up this way. One of the things we coveted when we did that is sightlines to lane 1, which are always a big deal. I've been in the pools where you're sitting front row seats and you're looking at lane 2.5, 3. So the first level of seats are elevated up off the deck so that you get that right angle, but the seats are all elevated up from the main level, from the main deck level.
what he's referring to locally is if you've been to a WeGo, the first 2 lanes, if you have a child in the first 2 lanes, you
You
can't see
can't see
them.
them. Yeah.
Whereas main and well, they have a scaffold concrete, and so you're just enough up. So that's what this represents there.
I'm not a swimmer, and I find that.
But-
irritating.
That was one of my big points because,
You have
Big deal.
kids this way.
yes, it's a big deal. Well, it's a big deal when grandma and grandpa needs to come and sit in the front row and they can't see their grandchildren. I listened to that a few times too.
And just to be clear one more time, under no circumstances, we will, they're going to 6 lanes, it's not an option, correct?
Not anything we've ever considered.
And I don't think
I
it
just wanna
fixes
make
any
sure.
budget issue whatsoever. Mr.
Uh,
Rowe.
I know.
that drawing.
Yeah.
The community saw the blue and.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
There was
there
no
was
lanes
no
on there, and it
line.
looked
There was no
smaller, and I
line.
think they just thought it was 6.
yeah,
We're
no,
I thought it
gonna
was
be
6.
asked questions like crazy after this. and I just want to make sure I have the facts 100%.
Dave.
I'm still.
nothing we've ever considered is.
I'll be honest, we explored for the sake of quantifying what those 2 lanes and the deck space, but because the deck space is a problem, whether it's 6 or 8, building the extra footage doesn't make any difference. And as far as excavating additional 2 lanes, I mean, an excavator is an excavator. It's gonna dig, it's gonna dig. It's not, you're not talking
From the
about.
very beginning. 8
No,
lanes, but
right.
We have a lot of swimmers too.
Yep,
so it's also a
absolutely.
safety issue.
After what I went through a couple winters ago to talk about the hill and the sightlines to the stadium, with 8 lanes, there's no way we're going back to 6.
I just know myself when I helped coach down here, it was very different. We had to have them in 2 different, the young kids came in early. And then we had a couple extra coaches and then we would leave because there wasn't, the faster girls primarily is who I was working with they'd have to have 2 lanes. And there wasn't enough room in there. So I would, it just doesn't make sense. And financially, though, staying on that topic, it doesn't solve anything.
No. Once you're in there and doing the work, the lion's share of the work, you've already incurred that part of it.
Even water volume doesn't change much.
And then if we
I mean, it's
remove-
a huge project, but we do want to get it moved. That's the-
Yep.
that's the other thing, but we want to get it right. So,
So it sounds like we need to form a committee or something. to
It's
sit
something
with
that
you.
we would enjoy. if you
Did we
did.
not have a committee before? Did we not have a full committee to answer questions?
No, no.
So we need to form a committee. Correct.
When they're ready for it.
We're ready for it.
They're right, I
Okay.
think, yeah. I
Yeah.
think each
We're ready
one.
for it.
I mean, I would suggest, I don't want to overstep my bounds. I'm sorry, sometimes the old hack goes on here, but if we could get a small group of people that we can bounce ideas off from, and obviously critical decisions belong in this room, but working with Mr. Hogan or whoever else you feel as a small group of people to at least bounce some ideas off
Our
with
swim
some logic.
coaches, I'm sure would be very
Yes,
interested.
I mean-
it would be helpful to us.
Because, our goal is from a project management standpoint is that we set some end dates as far as when we know we gotta go to state ed, when we know, so we can't spend 6 months, 8 months doing it, but I think we all understand here the urgency of. moving this thing
Unfortunately,
along.
guys, we're gonna need some time to draw this. thing. It's not a quick redraw. But we are going to try to move it along as fast as we can. We just need a little bit of critical navigation moving forward.
If, the only other question I have is the lock, sorry, Lynn, the locker rooms, because we're not having dedicated swim locker rooms anymore that were proposed in the original plan. We're saving money there too, because we're redoing and just pushing forward a little bit the locker rooms to include,
No. that's
All
not-
of-
We're having swim lock downs.
They're just coming up out of the ground.
They're just-
okay,
Yeah, we were able to actually mesh those in with the stuff that was going on. the main level.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have dedicated swim lock.
All right, so do we need a motion before our committee? Or what?
I don't think so. I think just do it.
Just pick
Yeah.
people.
Dave?
I
We
would
pretty
love
much
to.
covered the
Yeah,
lot.
Do you- I mean, is there someone you want me to reach out to and I can communicate back to? I know you'll have a,
Let Dave put it together.
I'm gonna say, are you comfortable? If you're comfortable with that, I certainly am. and we can work
Yeah,
on this
I would
program.
get phys ed, I get
Yeah.
a couple of phys ed teachers, put this in swim coaches.
Yeah.
Are we talking specifically about
Yeah.
just the pool? Or Are
Yes.
we talking about everything?
Just the pool, please.
Right, just the pool.
And I think the other areas that might come up, whether it be fixed room or whatever, we can certainly layer them in and then decide who should be part of that decision.
Okay, so.
But
when I
I
get-
say start with the pool.
So when we get asked, all right, so we're going on to the fitness center, because we were told we were gonna get a fitness center. And there's a lot of people that are using this, and they've been looking forward to this. You're gonna have a lot of people asking questions about this. Is it safe to say that, yes, it's not gonna be built there, it's gonna be built somewhere else? Is that?
And I think it's gonna be at what level it's gonna be built at. I
That's,
think it's,
that's the
it's,
key.
it's
What level do
as
we
to
build
what
this?
level we can put into there. But I think for the sake of not trying to be real coy with this at all, is to say the pool, there's a small group of people meet with the pool. I say we have some conversations about some possible choices. And then as there's a transition, even at the district level, whether it be through the interim or through your process, we start to vet out where the building principles, whichever way you're comfortable with, or the district's comfortable with, what's some options for the fitness center. And then as we start to quantify costs, so what's important to understand is, as John Paul and Adam start drawing, we're going to quantify costs side by side, very different than what you did last time. We're not going to wait to the end and hope. That's simply just not a strategy. So we're going to quantify all the way through. So I think, David, in the next few months, as they're drawing, we're going to have a better idea of what monies is potentially there to say, let's set a budget for this amount. And let's try to hold to that. And then here's the location possibilities, and then we go from there. Does that kind of make sense? So
Yeah.
to say it's going to happen.
Clear with what we can tell people.
Yeah,
Once people ask questions, we want to
Yeah,
be able.
I would say that the goal is to say, yes, that it's going to happen. Whether it looks like
what we-
Michigan, or whether it looks like, you see what I mean? Like what scale it's on is going to depend on what dollars are there.
So if you're constituting a committee, there's gonna be feedback we need. It's not first, but probably right on the heels of it, that regards the fitness.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that they're gonna have to be in the mix.
Yep.
They're
I'm
not
not
day
even so
one.
sure it should be that different of a group, to be honest, if at blend in some people that are both, because I
It would
think
be
there
nice-
might be some
It would be
overlap,
nice to have the same people.
because they can hear each other. Personally, I mean, I'm just trying to, why add more meetings and then have potential conference between the two.
Dave, you said the fitness center can't stay where it is?
Probably not. Probably not. It's the main reason, do you want to talk to that, or? First of all, it's in the middle school gym, it's in the small gym. in
Oh,
middle
it
school.
is?
Yeah.
It's been used for other things in the past, that was a temporary fix, that was 4 years ago. When the elevator went down, that we didn't have any more room downstairs where it was, so we moved it to that as a temporary place, holding area, until we got the new fitness center.
Okay.
So this has been going on for quite a while too, so, I'm not saying it 100% can't work there, but I'm gonna have to talk to.
I didn't realize it was over here. I
Yeah.
thought that was temporary and it had, like, when I was in school, it was that little room off of the gym.
I was told it was
a closet.
Yeah, yeah. So that, where was it before it came to the middle school?
downstairs.
Yeah, I
near-
thought it was in the pit.
Yeah, down in the pit,
In the pit.
in the little,
Up the rest.
little room there, it was very tiny. And then when the elevator went in, when they did the steam academy there, it took out even more of that area, so there just wasn't enough room there. So we moved it over here as a temporary thing, as per permission, and it kind of gave in because there was no other place to put it. But that's kind of, just not sure that's the best place for it, but maybe it is. I don't know. We'll talk some more.
Yeah, I think we just talk through it, look at a floor plan, propose some ideas, and then,
Gotta be a dynamic process.
yeah, and then look at that. But I don't want to ignore it though, because I think one of the biggest mistakes is we move the pool forward and then there's no conversation in the fitness center. And when they submit, we need a part of the package to be submitted. Because everyone will want to try to offset the fact that it's, I want to justify it as academic space. So we're driving 8 on it.
I have got another part to this project. I know it's not pool, but for the fitness center. Does involve water though. The middle school bathrooms, are those still able to be considered, or is that something that has to be taken out?
They were always an alternate to begin with, so they will not, that aspect.
That is
will not
news to
change.
me. Okay.
So one of the things that jumped out at me on this, I'm just going to put the other hat on for a second, was you have a good opportunity for a standalone middle school project. Meaning, you spend a lot of money in the bathrooms, but when you look at the surrounding areas, they need work too.
Yeah.
So you go in there, think about the just logistics of it, new plumbing, new all that, and then you close up walls, and then now what? So like a future project that has that written all over it, you know, that type of thing.
When
Although,
you say future though.
well, I say future, you're voting, whenever you vote again.
You're young.
You know, I'm,
We've been, yeah.
yeah, no, I get it. Oh, I've
on
lived that.
bathrooms.
I've lived that. There's a middle school hallway 40 miles up the road that's still future.
Yeah.
that I tried to do for years, but yes, I get it.
We're going to have to invest a little bit of money into those because we were pushing it off because initially I was told that was gonna be done this summer. That's fine. But we have some issues.
So that's a good opportunity.
I think we need to sit with you and find out what we're talking about exactly, and then we can put a plan together that kind of tries to address how to get through, how to get by without potentially taking and swallowing the whole thing, the whole cost of the renovation.
Is it an option, I'm just throwing out there, is it an option with, in terms of semantics and the way we put things out there, right? In terms of stimulus money, if you were to talk about a fitness center as a way to improve social emotional development of kids and show the benefits of it on that side, like, I'm saying this to the board and to any administrators, like, there could be a way to use funding like that to support some things that do help develop the social emotional.
I think that those things are definitely options. I think coming off of what the world is coming off of, a lot of that conversation is happening. I think that what you're gonna find is in the state ed and the state financing system, you might find archaic standards that are not gonna address that specific nuance. But that's not to say at all, like what you're getting at, that the outside world might be able to jump in with a source of funding that could supplement things. And that would be fantastic. Frankly, that would be appropriate and fantastic, and we would welcome that opportunity to bring some of that in.
Pretty happy when the toilets flush, so maybe you could find something for that.
They definitely would be. We didn't have to turn the faucets on and off from the shut-offs.
Well, I think it's going in and evaluating where they're at,
Yeah.
like what
Sorry,
needs to be done in there.
This is the world we're living right now.
Did you get through your whole presentation?
We did, because we
Okay.
covered the last slide like it stayed.
Okay.
I have one quick question. The number I heard, I think was associated with removing the movable aspect of the bulkhead was 750.
A full bulkhead, that included the bulkhead.
Okay. So we now have a fixed little wall, the pool and the warm-up thing. Has that $750,000 become available for something else in the project, or is that one of the things that was swallowed by the rise in construction costs?
It is not going to free up a full 750, and you're probably, it'd be hard to quantify right now. I don't know. I'd be shooting from the hip a little bit too much. Everything that we priced was the movability of the bulkhead, the safety features that are associated with it, and all of that. And you're right, all of that can come out. The issue is that the pool itself still has an escalation that is really kind of unknown right now in steel costs. Steel costs are the biggest issue. So it'd be hard to say, well, we've got that, now let's go spend it. And one of the exercises I always try to do with each district administrators, but is being careful to pick how many water fountains you're going to put in with your contingency money. And I think if you can follow me with that, is it's really early to say you have this much money to spend. Because what ends up happening is the savings that you have there is probably a contingency line item that may come across something.
We have to.
Like they start digging in the dirt, it's awful, or something goofy like that.
We have to cover those aspects of the budget because of frankly, how money flows with you guys. It's public money, so like Bill saying, so we have to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves. It's not like we're super conservative, but especially in times like this. I wouldn't look at this project and say we got any extra anyway.
You know, Drew mentioned that he didn't know bathrooms were on the alternate list. It's been so long since we did that.
I know.
We need to take a look at that again, because he
2
should have
years ago.
known that, so.
I remember.
One of the things I'd like to propose with that is that on a more frequent basis, we send a report to, in the meantime, your interim, as far as what we see going on. So we have a little bit, I will never bypass a school superintendent unless you direct me to, but to work through them to make sure that we know you have the information, because that is always a challenge. And I made a lot of assumptions in January. Like, oh, I just assumed everybody had a good feel for that. And it's, I point fingers at nobody ever.
I'm not faulting you.
No,
Yeah, we have no.
no, what I'm looking at
remember.
though is I want to make sure that we've established early on, usually with our clients, we establish a line. Are there other districts we work with? That's how it happens. It's minimum of once a month, one district in construction, it's every week. The superintendent gets a report, and then usually we prepare something for you. If you want us to have a meeting, we have no problem coming, that doesn't matter.
We can come
But-
present to you guys whenever you'd like us to.
But I think it's important you're getting some deliverables, a little bit more updated, where we're at financially and with the process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good for you.
Can you get an update on our page that says the
Yeah.
field remains at 8 lanes and
Yeah.
2 normal lanes?
And Walpat.
Yeah, pretty much almost the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Except for the fitness. Yeah. Everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You have to look at it.
Public comment.
So we should modify it.
Yeah.
Do the audit thing now, it's a kind of work order.
Let's.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to speak for public comment? We do have Penny Merritt for masks.
Okay. Where's Penny?
Did you want to speak?
Hi, my name's Elliot Merrick, and me and my friends are having a really hard time breathing outside and inside. And it's really hard to breathe.
Why?
Because of these masks.
Why is it different now?
Because it's really hot.
So we are no longer enforcing masks outdoors, I believe, correct? Looking at the meters, okay. And what option, if any, do we have at removing masks at our desk, at the kids' desks? Do you have that option?
For the entire day.
Just while they're seated? We don't have that option currently. Students do have mask breaks throughout the day. I have encouraged since the heat to have mask breaks more frequently as needed. Not on a timeline, so if someone's hot, take down their mask in order to make sure all of our students are comfortable. It's not something obviously that we want students to be uncomfortable, and we certainly want them to be able to breathe okay. But I feel like there's had to be a level of flexibility with our school in regards to them removing their masks more frequently than they have.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Okay, that concludes public comment. Let's do you want to, Lynn, do you want to address the emails or have we already?
I think all the emails we got were in regards to the pool.
They were.
So I think that's been taken care of.
Mike?
Sure. I attended the audit committee meeting this past week here. So our options as a board are to continue the audit as we've been doing. We've been using that calculator. We didn't do too many areas because of COVID and stuff. So our options are to continue with what we've been doing, or we can start picking to add more areas for our internal audit. So we need to decide here what we want to do. Continue doing what we've been doing, or we want to switch it up and add some more things to our audit.
What have we been having audited?
Mark, what is it officially been audit? It's the,
So
is it
last year and this year, we did not do a full-blown internal audit because we are under the threshold of the student population. And in order to save money, we decided to just do the MOE calculator, which is a required audit. So we just audited one thing to save money. We are still below the threshold, so we are not required to have an internal audit going forward. And so the question is, do we want to continue that policy, or do you want to go back to doing internal audits?
I think internal audits are necessary for accountability purposes.
And we changed just because of the cost.
Right, wasn't a requirement anymore because our student population was dropped and we were looking to save money.
Were there findings when we were doing the full-blown audit?
There were findings here and there, not a lot.
nothing
Nothing
egregious?
that was costing us money.
They're very
Yeah.
every other year or something.
When did we stop doing the full-blown audit?
This
This
past year
year.
was the first.
It was every third year or something.
I think it's 4 items, wasn't it 4 items
Yeah.
of interest? So we could scale that back to 1 a year.
Well, we're doing one now.
Okay,
We have to do that. one.
Okay.
The MOE. you know.
so was it 2 years ago, we did 4, right? And now it's 1, so we could. I wouldn't want to skip a year entirely.
I don't think you're saying that we have to do the MOE one every year.
Right.
Okay.
So we're always doing one. We're just not doing more than that one.
What are you thinking, Mark?
I guess it's a comfort level, how do you feel? So it's worthwhile. Like I said, in the past, we haven't really had any egregious errors. So, I mean, I think if you want to just, scale it back and, every other year or every 3 years, add more items to it, and then go back to the one, and then, whatever your comfort level is.
I'm thinking we should have more this year with the new superintendent coming in, so everything starts out on a level field there. He knows
Oh, 4 or just a couple?
just a couple.
Yep.
Now, I will say this, it wasn't even, we didn't budget for it.
Then I guess we stick with what we got.
But
We
if
revisit this next year.
you want to make it a policy going forward to do it every other year, every 3 years, then we'll have to start budgeting for it. We didn't budget for it because we thought, everybody thought, there wasn't gonna be money.
Right. Stick with it this year and revisit next year.
And send that to the policy committee? Did you say we have to make a policy?
No, you don't.
I thought you just said we'd have to make a policy.
I said if if that's what you want to do going forward, then we'll just build that into the budget going forward.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Sounds good. 4.1. On recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve the following probationary appointment. Stephen Tranovich, tenure area school building leader, date of commencement of service on probation, July 1, 2021. Date of end of probationary service, subject to education law, section 3012, June 30th, 2025. Certification status, anticipated under review. Initial school district administrator. Salary, $90,000. Motion.
Motion.
Second. Thank you, Mary. Discussion. Roll call.
Amy Ryan.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye. Motion passed.
I could say personally, I've known him since he was a baby. That he's a man well fit for this job.
Congratulations, Steve.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Come on up.
Yeah, I just want to say, obviously, thank you very much to everybody for this opportunity to become the new high school principal. It's definitely a dream. I'd like to thank the administrative team. They've been very supportive throughout my internship, and I'm sure that won't change once I take over July 1st. To me, Chenango Forks has always been the place. So to be able to land here as a high school principal and hopefully finish out the rest of my career. I got 20 solid years left at least. I really just couldn't be happier, and I look forward to working with everybody here collaboratively to obviously continue our positive student outcomes here at Chenango Forks. So again, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
4.2, upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve the following and enter into a contract with Grayson Stevens as attached.
Motion.
Thank you, Sparrow.
Second.
Oh.
Oh.
Guess we like that. Oh, you got Mike, okay. All right, discussion. Roll call.
Amy Ryan.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Welcome.
Bring in the back there.
Mr. Greg Stevens, if you'd like to come up. This is his 9th time as interim with experience as middle school principal, guidance counselor. Help me out. You've got more there.
I've mowed lawns.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it. I've been in the business a long time and have had just wonderful things said about Chenango Forks. So I'm looking forward to it. You had a great school system. We'll try and leave it a little better than I found it. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome. Thank you. 4.3, letter of intent to retire, Mary Ann. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to accept the letter of intent to retire from Mary Ann from her position as an elementary teacher for the district effective July 1, 2021 as attached. Motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Sparrow.
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion.
Do we need to discuss the ERI?
What's that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Mary, thank you. We'll be very sad to see you go. Thank you.
Privilege and pleasure.
Thank you.
On recommendation of the superintendent, A motion to accept the letter of intent to retire from Mona Shabel, her position as a speech language pathologist for the district effective July 1, 2021, as attached. Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Motion passed. Is Mona here? I don't see her. Thank you, Mona, for your years of service. 4.5, letter of intent to retire, Christine Gill. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to accept the letter of intent to retire from Christine Gill from her position as a special education teacher for the district effective July 1, 2021, as attached.
Motion.
All right, thank you, Spiros. Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lockwood.
Aye. Motion passed. Is Christine here? No. Thank you, Chris, for your years of service. 4.6, resignation, Aubrey Hartrick. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Aubrey Hartrick as attached. Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Good luck, Aubrey. With your move. Okay, 4.7, let's see, upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve 4.7 and 4.8.
Motion.
Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, 5.1, the July reorganization meeting. A motion to schedule the Board of Education reorganization meeting on Thursday, July 1, 2021. Thank you, Mike. Second. Thank you, Mary. Discussion?
What time?
That's what we need to
At
establish.
6:30?
We did it 6:30 because getting home from work. Yeah. A couple people have that issue.
Try it and see how it goes. 6:30. Should we try 6 and then see if we can make that work? Or just jump right to 6:30?
I hate to go
Well,
later.
because I don't,
I know, it's just tough.
it's hard, it's just hard. Things are really ramping up at work and I can't be like leaving early to come.
Right.
Like, today I had a 4 o'clock meeting and I was anxious all day long, thinking I'm not gonna get out in time to get to this meeting, so.
Okay, so if everyone's okay with it, we will try 6:30. And that, nothing's putting that in stone.
Right,
That's
if
what
we're
we're
gonna,
gonna,
if we keep running late,
Yeah.
we can move it.
yeah. Let's try
To 6.
6:30 for now. Okay. 6:30, moving forward. 5.2. A motion to schedule a special Board of Education meeting on Friday, June 25th, 2021.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
What time is that meeting?
That's
Right before.
Right before graduation.
right before. And this is usually a 5-minute meeting right before we go to
Well, it
graduation.
has to be a regular meeting. You can Come in here and open it up.
Yes.
It's one where we move, Mark gives us stuff to move around. It's usually all it is.
Yeah. Financial
And there won't be
transfer.
anything
That has to
else.
be done, before the
Right.
first.
What time's
whatever.
graduation?
Yeah.
6,
So you say an hour before graduation,
probably.
5.
5? Can we do 5?
Yeah.
We can do 5:30.
Well, because graduation is, we're usually like lining up
Yeah. Okay.
at 5:30.
All right, let's do 5 o'clock. Is everyone okay with that?
Aye, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll leave work early.
We have to, we don't know whether that is. Because that was our discussion, so now,
Amy O'Brien.
Aye. Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Motion passed. On recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve 5.3 through 5.12.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Aye.
Motion passed. 6.1 and 6.2 are an FYI. 6.3. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to accept a donation from Dawn Blair in the amount of $300 to be applied to the balance of the Patrick Blair Memorial Scholarship. Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Aye.
We want to thank you for that donation. 6.4. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to accept a donation from the Nimmonsburg Rotary Club in the amount of $500 to be used for the Chenango Forks Nurses Fund.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you, Nimmonsburg Rotary Club, for your donation. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve the Chenango Forks April financials, motion to approve 6.5 through 6.19.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Aye.
Motion passed. Seven point one, upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve the code of conduct number 5300. No changes. Discussion?
We just approve this every year, that way. Since there are some changes.
I don't know the answer to that.
No, we do.
Every year?
Okay.
Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Aye.
Motion passed. 8.1, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve the Board of Education minutes from July 30th, 2020. Oh, wait
And,
a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That's all on me. So it's supposed to be
Yeah.
May 13th.
May 13th.
And
May
May
6th.
6th.
Okay, let's start over. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve the Board of Education minutes from May 13th and May 6th, 2021, as attached.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Motion passed. 9.1. All right, a motion for consideration of executive session to discuss matters leading to the employment of a particular position. And we would also like to invite.
No, I got it.
Oh, okay. All right, and we'd also like to invite the admin team in as well. I have a motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Sarah Tomato.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Backer.
Aye.
And Lynn Muslin.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay. Ten point one, a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And then Lockwood.
Motion passed. Our next meeting, our next regular meeting will be July 1st. The reorg.
Right. Graduation day.
Right.